Hey everybody, Joe here, and what you see in front of you is a pile of notebooks that I have collected over the last 25 years of working in the creative industry, specifically marketing and advertising. And I have been sharing some of the spreads from these books on Instagram. You can follow me at Nanny's Notebooks, and you can see some of the details in these collages that come out of these books. But I thought it'd be interesting to kind of walk through the original book, and over the course of a few months, weeks, show how the system or the style has evolved from what I started with. So if you're into that sort of thing, this is the place to be. And I am going to take you through my very first notebook, which is this one right here. Before I do, let me quickly show you where I started, which was this thing, which is called a Filofax, and I used this at the end of high school and early into college, and it's a very disciplined, organized way of keeping track of dates, times, appointments, that sort of thing. Yeah, you can use it for notes, which I did, and observations and some diary elements as well. I think I actually had a storyboard section in here too. But what I found that it was very constrained and very tight, and it just, it wasn't free flowing. It didn't match the type of work that I was doing or the creative process that I was following at work. So I said, you know what? Let's just try something completely different. Let's try putting everything together. My notebook, my diary, my notes, my observations, my design inspiration, reference, everything. Cram it all into one thing, and see if I could make some more, nonlinear connections, and what kind of texture all of these things created when put down on a page spread. So that was really the goal of this, and it's a little wild and it's a little crazy. I've become more disciplined over the years, but let me just crack this open and show you where I started, how I began doing this. So yeah, this is an image of Jerry Lewis, and it's funny because sometimes I have a theme. So somebody had told me to watch the film Ladies' Man, said it was beautifully shot, and put your preconceptions about Jerry Lewis aside and watch this film. And I watched it, and I watched other films that he's made as well, and I discovered that he was actually like a very complicated person, didn't have a great childhood. Comedy was one of his ways of dealing with that difficulty he had growing up, and there's a lot of different sides to him. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. Different sides and different aspects of personality. Perfect for this book. So this is Jerry the Joker. This is a more serious, intense Jerry. And I think I actually ended it with Jerry in an ad. So that was the final page. And yeah, so, themes are something that I did keep. But before I get into it, I just want to say that there's a ton of stuff here. And it looks a little kind of like intense when you first see it, but there is a method to the badness. This is literally the first page, and what you're going to see as we go through it is I put everything in here. So at the time I was working on a book, so I put my notes from my book in here, lines of dialogue from characters. I put observations from my diaries, things that I had heard on the streetcar, reference, sketches, script ideas, all of this stuff. I put it all together, and it's funny, this is old. I think this is from 96 or 97, and going through it now, I can't even, some of it I can't even separate where it came from. Was it part of my day? Was it part of a character? It all kind of blends together, and I guess that was the point, going from where I was with the Filofax, which was really kind of like this happens then and this happens then, to just exploding onto the page. So I was working on a book at the time. It's called Use, and you're going to see a lot of reference and designs for that here. I had just moved in with my partner. We had our first apartment, and so there's a lot of stuff about like furniture and appliances. There's stuff going on in my family as well, so I express some of that frustration in here as well. It's so funny though, the first line, diaries are for you and nobody else. And here I am sharing it. So the first spread is pretty typical of what I do. Some of these things I still do today, but you know, it's got storyboards for, I believe, an ad for Captain Crunch. And it's interesting, like there's a reference to Battle Royale here, and obviously, you know, it's not the plot of Battle Royale, but the situation, bunch of kids on an island. I would just take anything from anywhere and mash it together and see what comes out. But there's also random stuff in these things, like here's a design for a stealth bomber. Why aren't stealth bombers more menacing? It's not even my thing. I don't even know why that's in here, but it is. And also too, like, you know, here's me trying to decide which style of handwriting to use. Ideas flow more easily, and they're easier to get out when I use like a script. But I just thought that this kind of architect's scrawl just looked better. So a lot of the times I'm just trying to create a texture. This page is completely indicative of that. This is all just texture. Some of the words are completely meaningless, but I just wanted to be as loose and as free as I possibly could, coming from a world that was very like tight and rigid. But all the references actually practical reference. This is, you know, pieces for use. The book I was working on at the time, this is reference for use. And early on I got this idea that the way that the visual language of sushi, the iconography, is something that I was going to use in the book. So you're going to see a lot of that coming through. Once again, here you go. So this is a visual reference for a book cover idea I had, and this is kind of how I pulled it out directly. So yeah, it's very pragmatic and very practical, but at the same time it looks very intense. But like I said, I needed that freedom. I needed to be able to express myself. Yep, so just some type ideas. And also too, one of the things I was exploring was this idea that different colors would be used for different things. So maybe blue would be used for professional observations, and black would be used for personal, and green would be used for creative. I don't know. I follow that better later, but it's not really something that came to being here. And yeah, this is quite funny. I desperately wanted a laptop. I didn't have a laptop at the time, and I literally wrote down like what ideas would go in a laptop and what ideas would I keep in my notebook. Ironically, I kept doing notebooks even after I got a laptop, and I found myself transcribing things that I'd written down, physical media, into the computer. So here you go. Yeah, once again, just more texture, more. This is one of the things that was in the cereal box from Captain Crunch. So just finding those pieces of reference and relating them to other things, other products and things like that. You're going to see a lot of that. Once again, more pages for use, cover ideas for use. Here's the sushi iconography coming in, and oh my god, this is funny. This is from basically a direct response. I thought it was quite funny for a magazine subscription renewal, and you put a sticker in it, and it was like, sure, I love to read, and you put the sticker on there, or nope, I don't read much, it hurts my brain. Anyways, I thought that was a clever little thing to go that far. Oh yeah, so here you go. Here's this whole sushi stuff coming to life. Sushi wasn't something that I grew up with, so it was kind of a new thing to me. And here I'm actually like drawing out the different types of sushi. And these are to hold chopsticks. This would actually come back. I would use this as a promo for that book. You know, sometimes I would draw in it. There's a lot of stuff in here, a lot of reference that I stick to. So this is a washer dryer. Like I said, this is 20 years ago, but I ended up eventually buying this washer dryer. This is a Herman Miller chair that I had no way I could afford at the time, that I eventually ended up buying like 16 years later. But a lot of the stuff, I find that when I put it down on paper, or that when I visualize it, it's something to work towards, or a goal. More pictures for use, more covers for use. I explored a lot of different areas at the time, and I just didn't want to resign myself to just one image. These are more storyboards. These are for Levi's, and just really quick ways to get ideas down. Yeah, this is interesting too. You can see the kind of Ridley Scott influence I had there. Once again, you know, writing as texture, and a lot of this stuff, these little boxes, I carry forward into the future as well. More sushi, and yeah, this is reference for Levi's ad we did, and we, you know, stuck pretty close to this photographic look and feel. So, oh, okay, so this is where I start to do this whole, you know, juxtaposition thing or nonlinear connections. So just trying to find two things and how they relate. And it's a simple creative exercise, but it's something that I keep doing, and I've done it to this day. But I went to the Barrie Raceway, and across the street there was, not directly across the street, there's this mall where I bought a pair of Nikes, and coincidentally this whole idea of the arrow and speed and things related together. Band-Aid and a strip of pepperoni, there's a relationship there for sure. But that juxtaposition is something that I develop over the years, and you can see that on the Instagram account. Yeah, just starting to work in the automotive category. So these are some visual observations on some things that were going on at the time. Oh, look, Windows 3.0, AOL for Windows 3.0. Wow. More practical stuff for work, storyboards for an ad we were working on at the time. This was a reference for a detective, but we really like this National Health Service style of glasses, so we kept that. It was great. And here's actually a reference to someone else's notebooks. I was relieved to find that I wasn't the only one keeping all this stuff in such crazy detail. Yeah, this is a interesting spread. A couple of observations here, and nothing too exciting. This one's pretty cool though. Here you can see, here's a logo lock-up that we did, which is directly inspired by a Nike ad. These were ideas for the book cover, which I'm not really sure why I have bags in here, but for some reason I had bags. I don't know, there's nothing to really explain it here, but this whole idea of of motion, this guy's in motion, I love that kind of forward movement, and it's just something I was trying to capture at the time. This is a spread from a particularly difficult period, just some family stuff going on, and it's interesting because if I read the notes, there's nothing really in here that talks about what I was feeling, but I think this general idea of being overwhelmed and frustrated and stressed, for some reason it comes out here, and once again looking for relationships and different products and icons and things like that. But yeah, this was there's some dried leaves here. I don't know what those were for. This is a spread. This is actually a design for a cassette cover that a friend of mine did for a spoken word album that I worked on, and yeah, it's just this whole, it's funny because you can start to see this, I'm going through this whole mash together of imagery and cultural references and ideas and things, and we kind of fed off each other, and he repeated that in the visual design. And yeah, that's from Good Times, I believe, a painting that I just took me immediately back to a period in the 70s. Some little drawings of spaceships, not sure why. And then we come to this, which is something I decided to do, which was literally break away from all of the clutter and all of the intense graphic overload, and just give myself a little breathing room. So obviously Buddha representing emptiness, and voodoo representing exerting control, and just juxtaposing these two ideas in this space. So this is something I do a lot moving forward. Yeah, I really like this spread quite a bit. Was working on some, once again, work for Levi's with a very urban downtown feel, and just starting to do studies. So looking at a brand and looking at all the things that relate, all the different aspects of that brand, from packaging to, you know, the iconography of the mascots and things like that. Starting to look at colors, the way different colors relate, and looking for similar tones in different products. This is a spread that was inspired by this dish drainer here, which I still have, but I don't know, I thought it had like this futuristic design, and then I found these pepper pots, these salt and pepper shakers, which were Dialect salt and pepper shakers, and I thought that was pretty hilarious, and I just drew some. There's a Time Lord and a Dialect Cyberman Sontaran. I don't know what that guy's name is, from Buck Rogers, but yeah, this product design just inspired me to draw that, and I'll figure what this is from. Anyways, you can start to see themes getting pulled out. This is an interesting one too. This is, once again, stuff for use, but I took this from an old 70s paperback and just drawing from images from the 60s and 70s. Ghetto Barbieri, Hammer Films. I think this is, I forget what this, Iron Man Flint. This is type from an old 70s font book, an old 70s type book. But you get the idea. It's just starting to draw from a period or a decade and seeing what I could do there. Yeah, a little bit more. That theme kind of bled over onto this page. This is actually the spine. I was photocopying an image from Ghost in the Shell graphic novel, and I just like the fact that the spine's lined up with the spine. I don't know if I'll ever use that, but interesting little thing. Oh yeah, this is a shot of Bill Cosby before he was disgraced himself, but back when he was still an innocent icon. I don't even know why I have this. I think because he's pointing down to this article about Key West. I don't know. But I like this spread because this is a little writer's cabin that I was interested in. And this is actually the plans on how to draw it. And I eventually did build something. My partner and I did build like an escape, if you will. And it's got a lot of this DNA. So it's amazing how you seed these ideas, and if you keep at it, they come to fruition. This is a shared workspace that we had designed together, and we got to something similar. It didn't really look like this, but the idea of, like, you know, sharing your space. In fact, this Snakes and Ladders thing is one of her drawings. So yeah, you plant those seeds and focus. There we go. I don't know why that took so long. And yeah, so just loosening up, trying different ideas, not being so dense with the writing and the script. Just literally getting lighter, this cloud dream formation, and this is brought on by the different stages of sleep. Why is the focus? Let me just fix the focus, guys. One sec. Okay, focused. So yeah, just exploring the different stages of sleep. I suffer from sleep apnea, so you know, this is something that was undiagnosed at the time, and I was just trying to figure out what the hell was going on. Some rough ideas for Levi's. Loved working on that brand. I love that brand, and I was fortunate enough to work on it. And here we have something that I started to do in terms of the collages, which was just to focus on a theme. This one is obviously about the South and southern destinations. Cigar tags here, Stussy representing Laguna Beach and things like that. But this is an image that was collaged from a larger image, and just taking the pieces apart and seeing what kind of new, graphic ideas can come out of it. I do that quite a lot still, and the words don't mean anything, but it's just a way to kind of cut up the pieces, rearrange them, and see what kind of visual you can create. Might not be directly related to the theme, but it might inspire something else. This page is, there's one thing on this page that I wanted to share, which was this idea of the note or the box with the drop shadow, which is something that I continue to focus on going forward. And it just helps me separate on the page where something is. What is this? Just getting a little cleaner, developing a few more systems to, track diet and sleep and things like that. So I'm starting to take it a little more seriously, which is ironic too, because I'm actually starting to organize. I'm actually starting to organize the information in the same way that it would fall in the Filofax. And that's pretty much it. All my reference is at the back. So basically, I had notes and ideas in the front, in these pages up here, and then in the back I had actually, look at that, it's just broke after 25 years. Yeah, oh man. Anyways, I keep a lot of the larger pieces of reference that I just wanted to use. I just like the color system here and this map, and there are some other things too. For the most part, when I was working up here in the front, a lot of this stuff, like I said, was writing for texture or writing just to write, or trying to capture ideas, and people always wanted to look at it, and people always wanted to read it, and we're trying to read things into it. So I never used real names. I never really talked about anything serious. A lot of the situations are just like are just kind of very superficial and things like that. But people were interested and I wanted to share with them. And I also let people draw in it as well. These aren't my drawings. These are drawings from, I think, my friend Mike. And my friend Al has quite a few drawings in here. Al's quite a talented artist, and he drew a lot in here. And my creative partner Larry, he's got a bunch of drawings in here as well, which I can't find at the moment. But yeah, I had no problem just kind of like, here's Larry's stuff. I had no problem just kind of like opening it up and passing it around and see if we could kind of interact and play off each other. So that is that's this notebook here, and I'll show you the most recent one next, which is a lot more disciplined and a little more pragmatic for sure, but some good stuff in there. So if you like this, please subscribe to this channel and like the video, and I will see you again. Thank you.